So I went to the Onsen, I did my thing. You go in there, you go into a locker room, you undress, you get your towel on your head, and you just sit into the bath, right? And so here's the crazy part, man. So I'm in the bath. It's probably like 20 minutes in of just soaking in the spa. And I guess long story short, this one man, you know, he comes in, nothing different. He starts talking to me at first, and
welcome to the Melanated Files. In this series, we highlight and share the stories of black people from across the globe. Remember to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos and also follow us on social media for regular updates. Let's get into the interview. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Melanated Files. Today we are in Odaiba, the man-made island in Tokyo Bay, and what you just saw was the replica of the Statue of Liberty right here in Tokyo, Japan. Yeah, those of you in the States, you recognize the statue, right? Take a look. There it is. And just a little bit behind us, there is a rainbow bridge. We might see it, but that's not really important right now. Today we're going to be talking to Stephen Estelle. We're going to find out his journey from the States to Japan. He has a very interesting story. So the interview begins now. Let's go.
so I'm Stephen from Chicago in America. So far, everything's been going actually really good. You know, Japan gives you a lot of good experiences, different experiences. And on top of that, you know, there's some, you know, it's not perfect, but you know, that's the whole experience of traveling to another country. So
I want you to tell me, like, why Japan? That's the very first question. We want to find out why you decided to leave your country and come all the way to Japan.
So coming from America, I wanted to come to Japan because, so I traveled a lot, but I really wanted to go somewhere different, like somewhere that didn't speak English, somewhere that didn't have all the fast foods. I wanted pretty much a challenge, you know? So Japan was also a popular place because I knew about Japan just based off of like anime, Nintendo, video games. And then also my mom was a flight attendant and she used to bring me and my brothers back Pokemon cards.
All those free flights. Y'all got the discounted flights.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty good. But so she used to bring me and my brothers Pokemon cards when I was 5. And that's how I got introduced to Japan when I was like just a little tiny child. And it's been good so far, you know.
Okay. So when did you make the official decision that, you know what, I'm gonna go to Japan? When did you make that decision?
Okay, so the whole story was 2017. It was in March, and actually I was in Los Angeles in grad school during that time, and it was like spring break. And actually my good friend Waylon, he's from Australia, I met him, and he was studying abroad here in Tokyo, and we were talking, and I said, hey, is it possible I could come out to Tokyo for the first time and visit you? 2017 in March. And he was like, yeah, come out, man. You know, I'll show you around Tokyo. It'll be a fun time. And I was excited because, you know, I'm into like all the Japanese stuff going on. So I came out. He helped me get a place to visit for a week. And he showed me all the sites, you know, Odaiba, Shinjuku, Shibuya, Akihabara, all the good stuff, as well as Mount Takao and his university. And after that trip, man, it was like, it felt like it was an enjoyable place, you know? Like, I didn't feel like there was no stress, while at the same time I felt like it was a new enough experience that I can grow from living out here. So after all that and trying some 100 yen sushi, it was I said I need to come back, and that's what I did 2 years later, and I'm enjoying it so far. So far so good.
So tell me, what do you do?
All right, so right now in Japan I am teaching English in Shinjuku, but my ultimate plan in America, I studied engineering, so I really want to do some engineering research in Japan, but my biggest, I guess, block is Japanese, the language. So I'm trying to do like some cool engineering research at the University of Tokyo maybe, and I'm trying to reach out to a bunch of professors and stuff, but that hasn't gone around yet. So I'm still just doing teaching in the meantime.
So you have a master's in mechanical engineering?
Yes.
Okay, so your bachelor's is also in engineering as well?
Yeah.
So you saw English teaching as maybe the vehicle or an avenue to come to Japan, and then you can scout out.
You see it, yeah, you see it.
Okay. So how is it going so far? Any luck?
So I have some coworkers and some friends who work or actually study at the University of Tokyo. So he's trying to help me. I tried, funny enough, I tried so the fiscal year ended like from March to April. So I tried to be part of that. So I applied to like Toyota, all that stuff. And there was one company, they're like, yeah, come do our like introduction thing. So I was like, you know what? I don't know Japanese, screw it. Let's go do it. And I went, it was actually in Odaiba. It's like actually across the river. And I went and I went to the building. It was on like the 33rd floor. And they're like, oh, Stephen-san, they did the whole thing. And I went there, I sat in my seat, suit and tie. And then she told me, do you speak Japanese? And I was like, no. And then she said, there's nothing else we could do here. So I just went home. I just had to go home. But she was nice about it. And, truthfully, I was kind of expecting that. But I just kind of wanted to do it just to at least see what the whole process is. So in the future, when my Japanese is higher level and I can actually seriously participate, I kind of know the process and the flow and how to actually go about get a professional job here in Japan.
Okay. So your ambition in Japan is to ultimately get into that field.
Yeah.
Right? Engineering.
That would be pretty sweet.
So you're looking at studying the language and then hopefully getting the job that you want.
That would be
right?
great.
Okay, so articulate that for me. What's your ambition for life in Japan?
All right, so here's something interesting I want to share that I learned from a student. And it's for engineering and business. And he told me America is good at innovating while Japan is good at perfecting. And I thought that was pretty impressive, on an engineering mindset. So I brought my master's thesis from graduate school to Japan. So with that being said, it would be kind of cool to take this innovative idea that I have and maybe bring it here for some help and perfect it in Tokyo. And if I could get this thing designed and perfected here in Japan, maybe I could bring it back to California, I don't know where, and just do some amazing stuff with it. Start a company, maybe patent it, I don't know what, but do some amazing things. But I hopefully want to be an engineering bridge between California and Tokyo.
Nice. At the same time, we're talking about innovation, right? So this is the Fuji television station building right here in Odaiba, guys. If you guys can see it, it's quite interesting. Have a look.
They have a cool sphere on the top.
Indeed. So on this side, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see it when we're walking by.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all the best, right?
I appreciate it.
Right? Look, it's possible, right? It's possible.
It is.
And something that I want to share with you guys that are watching right now is that Stephen did reach out to me in 2018, right, expressing his interest to come because he saw an interview that I did with another engineer. And so this is a full circle journey, right? Full circle journey, from seeing the video as well, asking some questions, and now he's actually on the soil.
I am on the soil.
Right, walking. So tell me, so far, what have you noticed? What's the biggest difference between Japan and the US? Not the obvious, in your opinion.
Right. The biggest difference. All right. I gotta say the biggest is how the people here are very organized, especially just for example, the escalators. In America, it's just a free-for-all. You get on the escalators, maybe you could go up, you gotta shuffle. But everybody, it's perfect. Everybody, you stand on the left side and you walk on the right. Everywhere in Tokyo, it's always consistent. It's perfect. Or the trains, the train is always there on time. And it's gonna get there on time, it's gonna be perfect. Everything is just down to the dot. It's so punctual here. And I like that organization because I know what to expect. And if I'm going to work, I'm not going to be late. And also, I like how people are more considerate of everybody. Everybody's looking out for each other. They want to make sure that their neighbor, I guess, is comfortable in a way. And it even carries over to foreigners as well. And I think that's pretty nice.
So what do you like the most about Japan?
I like the most, okay. So for me, I like the outdoors. So now, of course, there's mountains everywhere, but I like how Japan has, actually almost similar to California, it has a variety of temperatures. Up north, You got cold, skiing, snowboarding. Down south, you got Okinawa, where it's like an island, and then everywhere in between you have mountains and forests. And then I like that it's an island, so I like that if I want to travel, I could go almost do anything in the country. I like the food. The quality here is amazing. Like the 7-Elevens here is on a different level than America's 7-Eleven. Like they don't even compete. And then I like how I truthfully feel actually pretty welcomed here. Like a lot of times people like invited me to just like they're curious, so they're like, oh, you know, we actually want to know more about you, so they'll like invite me to like, oh, like for example, one group of people, like they're like really nice, but they invited me to their house in Chiba for an entire night, and I stayed the night, and they gave me food and breakfast. And I was like, I mean, I wouldn't do that in America, but like it was 2 women and a guy from France. They're like the coolest people, and they said, hey, we have a place in Chiba, come visit, we're curious, we could talk. And they made me some nice Japanese dinner, gave me a room to stay, we talked all night. They showed me the countryside of Japan, and like I was a total stranger. Like I went to like a TED Talk event, and I was a total stranger to them. They knew nothing about me.
So what do you like the least so far?
Oh, the trains is a double-edged sword. The trains, it's really good, it's really punctual, but then the trains, it's overcrowded, and it is like, it's a free-for-all. You know, I would say, people say like, oh, the real Japan is in the trains. It's definitely the trains. So, you know. So
you're saying all the people release all their pretty much innovations and all that comes out. You see the true nature. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, it's like what is it? It's like that's true. Like that is 100% unfiltered. It's true. You know, it doesn't get any more real. Like
there's no politeness in the train.
Like I remember I was on the train going to work, and I was going up an escalator. It was rush hour. And I remember I saw a lady fall, and like people were walking over her, and like I wanted to help her, but I'm going on an up escalator, so you know you can't like but you know, and people are just like, you know, going around doing like that whole thing, and I felt bad, but you know, everybody has their own, like, you know, gotta go to work, the people are late, you know, people's got their own game plan. But I guess just seeing stuff like that, the train is a whole different animal than the actual, like, what you see up top. So that's one thing I'll definitely say.
So tell me, what's your favorite Japanese food here?
Oh, yes, katsudon. Hands down, katsudon. Like, katsudon. Was like the pork cutlet on top of an egg, on top of like some onions, on top of a rice bowl. And that, I had it for the first time actually this January, and I remember I tasted it, and I was like, what is this masterpiece? Because I never had that in America.
Right. So you went to university for engineering.
Yeah.
But you're in Japan teaching.
Right.
How do you feel, how is that departure for you? Like, are you enjoying teaching? Is it more challenging than you expected?
Right.
Tell us something about that.
So I would say this, it's definitely different because I'm used to being like that formulaic mathematical engineer, like, oh, you know, using pi and all that stuff. But as a teacher now, I feel like, you know, it's still a job, but it's just applying my knowledge differently. You know, engineering involves creativity when you're trying to invent and trying to make new developments and things like that in engineering science. But teaching, you have to use your creativity differently, trying to make sure the lesson is easy enough so somebody can learn it, as well as creative enough so it actually applies to their life. So doing teaching, it definitely gave me a new point of view of teaching, because I taught engineering software before, and that's like different kind of teaching. Well, now I'm teaching English, and it's like the teaching style is totally different, but just as effective. So I feel like I can now take some knowledge from my teaching in English and maybe even apply it to engineering when I get back into the field, and potentially have better success in the engineering field.
So how are you received by your students and your coworkers?
Oh, so
you know, being a black person, yeah. What's that like?
The first thing is the hair. They're like, I've heard it plenty of times. They'll be like, oh man, you have really cool hair. And I was like, oh, thanks. I just hopped out the shower. And then, like, I heard it numerous of times. You'll be walking down the street or somebody and they'll be like, oh, kawaii, talking about the hair.
Wait, kawaii or kawaii?
Oh, the good one. Yeah, the good one. K-A, right? Kawaii, yeah, kawaii, yeah. So I think so far I've only had one experience where somebody touched my hair and she was just like really curious and everything. But I mean, other than that, a lot of people are really interested in just the texture because they're like, oh, it's different. It stands up, it doesn't fall, and like it bounces and stuff like that. So I see one student actually said like she said like, oh, I wish I had your hair, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay, so your experience teaching at your school has been positive?
Yes, everything's been good.
Nice.
It gave me a new point of view on things, and I feel like at the age I'm at now, 24, turning 25 next week, I think it's something that I can actually learn from. So everything's a learning experience, so it's been good.
All right, so what do you think, in your opinion, is the general attitude towards Black people here in Japan?
So I feel like, from my experience, when it comes to Black people in Tokyo, I guess specifically, I think people are actually genuinely curious, like on a good level. Like, of course, you'll see some people who might like give you the side eye, but like I've had nothing but good experiences. People, they're curious about a lot of the stuff you do, or like even if I say just like different words, that's not like typical English. They're like, oh, what does that mean? And I'm like, oh, this means that. And they're like, oh, that's pretty sweet. So I would say my experience has been pretty perfect. No worries. So nothing bad.
So what would you say is the general attitude?
General attitude is, I would say positive. I would say the attitude towards us is positive and curiosity. Positive curiosity, if I could put a coin word on it.
Okay. So tell me, what is the best life advice you have received that you can call to mind right now? Or something that you live by that drives you?
Yeah. Okay. I think my important life advice that I live by is, if you never quit, you never fail. Meaning, as long as you don't give up, you're gonna either succeed or die trying, I guess. So you can apply that to a lot of things, like, me studying Japanese. Like, as long as I don't give up, I'm either gonna like be successful in it, or I'll just be grown and I'll just die trying. So as long as you never quit, you can never fail.
Is there something in your life, can you go back to a period maybe, where there was a challenge that you had that you overcame? Is there something you can call to mind that you want to share, that you would like to share?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just gotta go back to my bachelor's degree. Like, engineering's tough, bruh. So like, especially like for me, so I didn't meet my first engineer until I went to college. So I was like, oh, this is what an engineer is like. I wanted to give it a shot. So like, there are some times in college where I'll like call my family and say, hey, maybe I should drop out of engineering. And then my mom would be like, oh no, you could do it, motivational stuff. And I'm glad I stuck through it, because now I can look back and say, all that, I guess, pain and like hard work, staying up to 2 a.m. every day, like now I can look back and joke on it, like, ha, yeah, I got 3 hours of sleep every night. But I mean, during that time it was tough, but but yeah, that time I would say I stuck through it, and I said, you know what, as long as I don't quit, I'm gonna become an engineer at some point. So it's just a matter of time. You just gotta be patient. So, and here I am now. I went back to school.
So you went for a second dose.
I did,
and came out on top still.
I did, so I'm glad I did so.
So that the maxim that you live by is something that is actually true.
It is like, you gotta, what is it? You gotta walk the walk, talk,
Walk the talk.
Exactly, yeah. So, that's why I'm out here, and now I'm trying to apply it. If I actually want to get my research to get, to get like published and also maybe patented one day, as long as I don't give up on it, it's gonna happen. I just gotta be patient, because I'm still young, I got time. I don't need it tomorrow. So, and Everything else is pretty good. Like the responsibilities are pretty low, so it's not like I have any dependents or any of that on me. So I'm pretty solid.
If there was one thing that you could share with the world, one message, what would it be?
One message.
You got 15 seconds. Everyone is like tuned into Stephen Estelle right now. What would you say?
I would tell them this, especially for a lot of people my age. Truthfully, first thing first, do not just stop caring what people think about what you do. Like if you want to do something and you know that it's what you do and what makes you happy, go do it. If it makes you happy, do it. Because I feel like the happiness, I feel like there's not enough happiness in people nowadays. So if you're not doing something that makes you happy because somebody else says like, oh, you're lame. Like I'm a big Pokemon fan, I got my Pikachu. But like, if it makes you happy, do it, because there needs to be more of that in the world. And just go for it, give it a shot. Why not? Life is like, I think somebody said life is like surfing. It's chaotic, but you just ride the wave and you make it fun.
All right, nice. And as you said, Pokemon, we're coming upon the life-size Gundam. For those of you guys who don't know, it's actually in the background right over that tree. Right there, things like 30 meters high. It's massive. We're gonna take a closer look while in a little while. We're almost there. Cool. So tell me, Stephen, what's one thing that Japan does really well that the world can learn from? Right? They can look on Japan as an example and say, we should implement this in our country.
Heck yeah, man. I think I gotta give two. The first one is definitely, like I mentioned, the organization, how everybody is organized and peaceful and like everybody looks out for each other. And then the other thing is Japan's detail. Like, for example, like the toilets here, like they have the sink in the toilet. So like the water that refills the toilet is the sink. So like your wasteful water is for the toilet, and that makes sense. You save water, and like it's dirty water. It goes to the toilet. Like that makes sense. Or like there's like something else that was like really small to detail that I thought was like really neat. Like I can't think of it right now, but I think it's like at convenience stores. They got like, for like umbrellas, you could they have little holsters on the side and nobody steals your umbrella, so I can leave it there and I know it's gonna be there 2 hours later. Or like my bike, I don't need to chain it up. I just do it just because it's like a habit. But like I could just leave my bike right here if it was right here, and like nobody's gonna take it. It's gonna be there. Unless the government takes it because it's like parked illegally. But
my bike.
Oh yes, dude.
I was running for a train and I left it at the wrong place and they took it.
Dude, I've been to bike jail twice already, and it's only been 6 months.
You pay like what, $40 to get it back?
I think it was 30.
Okay,
$30 around. So I go into a bike jail with all the other bikes that got
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say was a common misconception about Japan that you had that was dispelled once you got here?
Yeah, that's a good question. A common misconception. Okay, I feel like a lot of people come to Japan expecting so I guess I kind of had it because it was new, but like you come to Japan with like this whole like fairy tale kind of view on it, like, oh, everybody's happy, everybody's like, I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's like everybody just has the rose-colored lenses are still on, and
it's like a utopia in their mind.
Yeah, and then you just gotta realize it's just like home. It's actually, that's something that I thought kind of interesting, that even though we're in different countries, people here act very similar to people in America. And
it's like people.
Yeah, so like it's just biology at that point. So like the guys act the same. I see them doing the same stuff in America, and same with the women here. They're all the same, and they remind me of the women back in America as well. So, but I think I forgot. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was just like that whole like everybody's like happy, that you see on like the advertisement, you see the mascots. It's like a little like bear dancing, like everybody's happy, but no, like people are human. People have happy days, sad days, ups and downs. So, I don't want it to seem like Japan is like the happiest place on the planet. It's a human place. It's normal.
Indeed. And as we just said, that behind you stands the life-size Gundam. So as a mechanical engineer, do you think something like this is possible in the next decade? So have a look, guys. Have a look. This thing is massive. It's literally as tall as a building. Like, that's how big this thing is.
Yeah, that's
right.
Cool.
What do you think? Are we close to building something like this?
Like this?
Yes.
I mean, I feel like we built crazier things than a Gundam. Like we got rockets are going to Mars already. You know, we got all. I think we just didn't do it. Well, we got the technology.
You think so?
I think we got the technology. It's just that, like, who's gonna invest $1 billion for fun? I mean, unless there's like an alien comes and like that's the only solution is to fight in a robot. But like, I definitely think we got the technology for that.
So guys, so this is from the anime that's called Gundam Wing, and if you take a look at it, this is like a fighting robot. So it can fly in the anime, of course, not in reality. It flies and they can actually battle with it. So fights, there's like guns and stuff. Really, really interesting stuff. And to see this in Tokyo, if you ever come to Odaiba, this is a must-see. Have a look at it. Stephen, do you want to go close just so they can get an idea of how massive this thing is? Guys, take a look at this. Do you guys see how big that is? So that's Stephen right there. And this is how massive this Gundam is. And people come here to actually check it out. There's a light show in the evenings. I think it's like 5 or 7, but you gotta look it up, where it transforms a little bit, like the face lights up, the face opens and all that good stuff, and there's a projection on the wall of a part of the anime. So check it out if you're ever in Odaiba in Tokyo. Do you have any advice for people who want to come to Japan, whether it's to visit or work? Because you told me that at first you weren't sure about your decision to actually come here to work. So talk to someone who's watching right now, yourself maybe 2 years ago, that's watching this video, something that would help you make the decision to travel overall, even if it's not Japan, somewhere for a different and new experience.
So, all right, yeah. So a couple of things I would tell myself is if you're gonna do something, like make sure you're gonna go through and follow through. You know, make sure you actually commit to this. You know, you don't like just kind of step halfway in and halfway out. You gotta jump full into it. Commit to the language. Commit to actually being successful in your decision. So, for me, before I came, I took 6 months of Japanese at a community college. I think I paid like $80 for it. That kind of laid a groundwork to learn Japanese. So I recommend if you're coming, do like a very basic Japanese class. And then on top of that, just start doing your research. Like, you know, watch videos, read articles, see what kind of area is actually a good area for you. Because there's so many different locations in Japan, you know, you might be happy in one location and sad in another. So like if you land in a sad location, then you might like, oh, Japan's a sad place. But like if you went here instead, you would have probably been the happiest you'll ever be. So research on location and the language. There you go.
Okay, if there was one person, dead or alive, that you could sit down with, have dinner with, have a chat with for 1 hour, who would it be and why?
Actually, I think it'd actually be kind of cool to talk to Neil deGrasse Tyson, because
the astrophysicist.
Yeah, because I like to like talk about nerdy things like outer space, and I feel like, you know, a lot of times I'll like bring up a conversation like, oh, what do you think of like the black hole? And somebody will be like, oh, it's okay. And then like I'm sitting there like waiting for like a deep response, like, all right, what else? Like, did you see Interstellar? You know, and they're like, no, I didn't. And then I'm just kind of left there like hungry for more. But I feel like if I talk to like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I feel like we could talk for like 8 hours about like, oh, did you hear about that book called Block World, about like the dimensions? And then you can like throw that into the black hole and like, oh, can we use black hole to like change humanity? Or like maybe you can use the black hole to like get rid of like traveling, like no more airplanes, you just hop in a black hole and I'm home. You know, stuff like that. And I feel like not many people like think about all these innovative ideas, and I feel like if I talk to him, like I feel like it'll be a good like catch ball conversation it'll just keep going until somebody says we gotta go home.
Okay, what's your favorite book?
So I don't know the name of it, but it's a book by Lecrae. Is it Anomaly? Is a book called Anomaly? I think it's Anomaly.
Okay, I'll find this and put it on the screen.
Okay, yeah.
What is it about?
Okay, but it was pretty much in his book, if I remember correctly, it was pretty much talking about, so he's an artist and he makes music and everything. And he was talking about his journey from when he was like young to up to becoming an artist. And a couple of things he was going over was trying to display that, you know, people, when they see artists and big musicians, they kind of put them on this pedestal like they're perfect, flawless, and they had no trials and tribulations. But he was pretty much talking about how, I've had all these shortcomings in my life. I've done terrible things, but I learned from it, I grew, and I pretty much took all my downfalls and I turned it into a success story, and I didn't dwell on it. So
sounds like a good book.
Yeah, it kind of just helps you realize everybody out there who's doing big things all started quite similarly to where you're at.
Very true.
So like, as long as you have a good positive outlook on things and you just try to learn lessons from all your mistakes, you could potentially reach your top potential.
So tell me, you said you had a story you wanted to share, so let's get into it.
Yeah, all right. So this is actually, this is probably, I guess, my worst experience in Japan. And it was actually, it was like about March, I'd want to say, March time. But pretty much the story involves an onsen. And for those who know what an onsen is, it's the public bathhouse spas, right? So pretty much in this story, I went to an onsen. It was in Adachi, and I just went by myself. It was one of the first onsens my friend Waylon took me to back in 2017. So I wanted to kind of revisit the past, nostalgia, and just to stay in the onsen for an hour and just think. So I went to the onsen, I did my thing. You go in there, you go into a locker room, you undress, you get your towel on your head, and you just sit into the bath, right? And so here's the crazy part, man. So I'm in the bath. It's probably like 20 minutes in of just soaking in the spa. And I guess long story short, this one man, he comes in, nothing different. He starts talking to me at first, and it's in broken English. So I'm like, all right, he wants a language exchange, whatever, that's normal. So he's like, oh, where are you from? And I try to respond in Japanese, like, oh, Chicago kara, trying something. And we're doing basic conversation, and remember, we're in a bathtub, and the onsens, you're naked in a bathtub. And after that, the dude touched me. He first rubbed my arm. So first of all, coming from America, that's not okay. And so, first I pushed him off, like, all right, whatever. And then he was like still asking questions and things like that. And the guy's still trying to touch me again. And I pushed him off yet again. And, after that, he gets up out of the tub. He's gonna go to another tub, and he's like, hey man, so let's go to another tub or something. And I was like, no, this ain't it. I'm not about that. I'm stay right here. And he was like, yeah, let's go into another tub. And I was like, you know what, dude, I'm about to go home. I'm going back to Shinjuku. It is whatever. Because when he was like touching me, he was like, oh, you have nice arms and everything. And it was rough. So it gets really bad here, man. So I'm leaving. I go to the locker room. I'm about to put on my jeans, put on my shirt, just get on out of there so I get home and eat. And so before I get dressed, I go into the bathroom to use the bathroom, right? And so I'm doing my thing, and then here comes the dude, also comes into the bathroom. And dude, it got really bad, man. I'm using the bathroom. It was like 2 urinals, so I'm doing my thing. He's on the one next to me. And the dude still continues to try to touch me in the bathroom. So I ultimately ended up pushing him off, into the stall, till he got the message, because clearly he was persistent. But ultimately I pushed him off, and kind of said something to him. I don't know if he understood what I said, but from there I left and just got dressed and headed home. But what I was saying was that, I feel like in that situation, if it was America, I probably would have been more aggressive, when it comes to physical stuff. But I feel like because I'm in a foreign land, I can't probably properly defend myself in Japanese court, and I don't want to get deported, all this other stuff. Also, just being a Black American, that's why I didn't go to that escalation. I just pushed them off. I didn't do anything else. So with that, it opened my eyes to every country has their outliers. America's not perfect, even though people think America's the land of the free and perfect. And just like Japan's not perfect. Of course we all see oh, Japan, they got all this crazy cool things, but there's outliers everywhere. And like that experience opened my eyes to like, first of all, the first thing I did was I was talking to some of my female friends here, and I was telling them, first thing is, if you're ever in a situation where you need somebody to help you, or if you feel uncomfortable by another man, and if I'm around, if we're just getting dinner or something, I first told them, please let me know, because that experience opened my eyes to what happens to probably women a lot. And I feel like a lot of guys just are unnoticed or just ignorant to it just because we don't experience it a lot. So that experience opened my eyes to that. And what kind of bummed me out too was that because that was in an onsen, because I'm like 5'9", grown, I could defend myself properly. But in the onsen, it's a family thing. So like, it'd be like a dad and his son, the children are running around doing their thing, having fun. But the fact that you have people who are outliers like that in a situation like that, luckily I could defend myself and, shove somebody off of me. But I was upset because I was like, imagine if I was like a little tiny kid, right? So, and then like that just got me start thinking about like the whole like train situation with the women only carts and like that whole epidemic. That's like a whole nother story. But so that experience right there was probably my worst experience in Japan. And I haven't gone back to an onsen yet. That was in March. But I don't know, man. Everybody was saying like, oh, I'm not gonna go to an onsen because this is gonna happen. And I'm a very optimistic person. Like, all right, stop being silly, kind of an idea. But when that happened, it just kind of sucked, because that was like the first onsen I've been to. It kind of tainted the experience for me. But I mean, I'm still gonna plan to go to an onsen. And if that experience comes across again, I would probably be a little bit more vocal. In Japan, everybody's like quiet, so for that one, I was just trying to be more physical, pushing them off of me. But if it happens again, it's probably gonna be a different story. Whatever it may be, it is what it is. But I think that's probably the darkest story I could tell you about my experience here in Japan. Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is.
Is there something in Japan that you think needs more media coverage or attention that is not getting any or enough right now?
Does it have to be foreigner related or anything? Anything. I think this is already a big, coverage already, but I think it kind of goes back to what I mentioned before about like any form of harassment. Like people know about it. They see like the trains, the women only trains. But like, I feel like, so in my opinion, I feel like Japan is a big, they try to avoid a situation first. And then if the situation happens, I don't know how they are with disciplines. I don't know the court system. That's why they have like 7-Eleven, they have like their bookshelves. Because I heard they try to use that to deter people from evil motives. I don't know if that works, whatever it may be. So I think putting more light internationally on any form of harassment, just so like people can come prepared, so then if something were to happen, they know how to act appropriately. If somebody puts their hand on you, can I legally punch them back and be good? Or am I gonna get deported the next day and all my stuff's here in Tokyo? Can I legally do that? Or can I legally get an English-Japanese representative to translate for me? I don't know. I don't know if they would have took me in and questioned me, could I have defended myself without knowing that much Japanese? I don't know. I feel like that stuff should be definitely explored more, and also just showing people like, yeah, there's outliers out there. Here is how you can represent yourself if you're in that situation, and here's how you can act appropriately, where you can definitely have your rights protected, protect yourself, while at the same time not have to even worry about getting deported. So, especially with the Olympics coming on, there's gonna be a lot of foreigners, and I think that should be explored.
Any advice for Black people looking to come to Japan?
I would say, I want to like show like a positive note. Like it's a nice place. Like truthfully, like it's safe here. Like I said, there's an outlier, but like you could come out here in Japan, like you're not gonna get stolen off of or none of that stuff. So for advice for Black people, if it comes to like products for like hair or like conditioners that you use, utilize Amazon, the Amazon app. That's pretty helpful. So you get a lot of stuff from there that you normally use in America. I would say definitely making American friends. So that could also help. So if they go home to their family, they can, you know, like, hey, can you pick up some Laurie's seasoning salt, for example, from the nearest Walmart or something like that when you're back home. So I think that is important, just make American friends, and also just having a community, because truthfully, I say like just having somebody here to talk to is like really important. Like having somebody you can actually have like a deep conversation with and like say like, hey man, I'm feeling sad today, and they actually care. You know, like they'll say like, oh, what can I do to make you better? Or, you know, I have a friend, I had a conversation with a coworker, and they just said like, hey, I haven't hugged somebody in 6 months because I don't know anybody like that here. And I was like, all right, you need a hug? You know, I gave him a hug, and it was all good. You know, that's just like natural human, you know, emotions. You know, everybody gets lonely. You know, that's one of the pros and cons of traveling.
Do you feel lonely here?
Me?
Yes.
So for me, I don't feel too lonely because I see myself as a very independent person. And then also because of technology, like I could just video chat. You know, like me and my cousin, we would occasionally play Fortnite on the computer, and like I can still catch up to people real easily. So that's not an issue. Or like, well, I'll say this. When it comes to being lonely, I guess I'm lonely for what I'm used to. Like, you know, I talk differently to just some other people back at home because I knew them since I was like 5 or 6 or 10. So I don't have that deep connection because everybody that I met here is still new. So I guess I'm more hungry for that deeper connection. But, and, you know, it takes time, it's developing. So
what's your favorite place in Japan? Somewhere that you think is a must visit?
Oh, yes. Oh man. Okay, I gotta give two. So the first one, I feel like there's a very low-key place, but Okutama, there's a cool hiking path. I think it's like a 3-hour hike along the Okutama River. I recommend that. Okutama is probably like an hour from Tokyo. They also got this cool Okutama cave that people don't even know about, and it's like lights and it's a cave in the middle of a forest, underground. Okutama, and then Fuji. And I'm actually hyped because I'm climbing Mount Fuji in 5 days, or next Monday. But the Fuji village, like the mountain is bigger than pictures show. And once you actually see it in person, you realize just how massive Mount Fuji is. So I would say Okutama and the area around Mount Fuji is phenomenal if you like nature.
Where can people find you online?
Okay, so online, I just have a Facebook. So on Facebook, you just search up Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, and then Estelle, E-S-T-E-L-L-E. And I'm the black guy who studies engineering, and I live in Tokyo. Kind of not, you'll find me.
So finally, how does it feel to make the dream a reality? Right from idea to actually coming here, how was that transition? How do you feel now?
So that's actually because like this time last year, I was looking at YouTube videos, how to get to Japan. You know, this time last year, I was brainstorming, you know, how can I get to Japan? And then now 365 later, and I'm here, it's like, I still sometimes don't believe it, because I know like last year, you know, I almost gave up actually, like in May. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna make it to Japan, like that's too hard. You know, I gave up for like 2 weeks. But now I'm like looking back on it, it was worth the work. And literally, if it's something that you really can't stop thinking about, if you go to sleep thinking about it and you wake up and you're still thinking about it, that means you really care about it, and that means you should put in all the work needed to make that happen. So it was worth the work, and I am definitely happy that I'm out here living the experience.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to share your story or have us visit your region, send us a message on any of our social media platforms or via our website.